So at night we positioned these troops there, the Mukti Bahini troops, close to this highway, and their position was protected by our own troops on either flank, but from Indian territory because we were not allowed to cross
Right.
the border. And in the morning, when the Pakistani convoy started moving in, the Mukti Bahinis started ambushing. By the evening, we had ambushed and destroyed 30 trucks and buses, the few jeeps.
30 trucks and buses.
नमस्कार दोस्तों और जय हिंद। आप सभी को स्वागत है इन माय चैनल 1971 वॉर बुक सीरीज। तो दोस्तों, इन द थर्ड एपिसोड ऑफ पॉन्चीज वॉर, जहां पे मेजर चंद्रकांत सिंह वीर चक्रा फ्रॉम द फोर गार्ड्स विल बी स्पीकिंग अबाउट हिज एक्सपीरियंसेस इन द बांग्लादेश लिबरेशन वॉर। आज हम फ्रॉम हिम विल लर्न अ बिट मोर अबाउट द इंडक्शन ऑफ PT-76 टैंक्स ऑफ द 5 इंडिपेंडेंट आर्मर्ड स्क्वाड्रन into his area of operations, और उसके साथ उनका कुछ हल्का फुल्का moments and his experiences in laying an ambush alongside the Mukti Bahini against the Pakistani forces। ऐसा एक daring operation के बारे में भी हम जानेंगे directly from the man himself। So instead of wasting any more time, let's welcome Major Chandrakant Singh Veer Chakra to our program today।
Yesterday, we spoke about some things that happened before the war.
Right.
And I'd like to continue with it in a bit of detail today.
Okay.
Firstly, I did mention about that concert for Bangladesh
Right.
and how it changed Western perception, particularly amongst the youth, for to make it more sympathetic towards Bangladesh. You see, whether it's in war or foreign policy or anything else, a lot of it is a matter of perception.
Right.
Like what is happening today in the Western universities, the pro-Gaza, pro-Palestine demonstrations that take place, is the youth who are prepared to come out into the streets for a cause that they believe in.
Right.
This concert of Bangladesh helped to do that. Now, a few years ago, I wrote an article which was published here.
Guitar over guns. Right.
Yes, you can read that.
Right.
This is about how the concert of Bangladesh, how it came about, and the effect it had on the public. And the people who, I wrote this in a newspaper, and the people who read it agreed with me and were really appreciative of it.
Okay. Also, there was a picture of the refugees, I think. I mean, just underneath that.
Now, I want to give you a little background to besides the concert. Like in the old days, television wasn't there at that time. It was radio. And every radio station had a signature tune. Because very few radio stations were 24/7. They came for 2 hours or 3 hours, morning, evening, afternoon, and things like that. And first they would play a signature tune. The signature tune in 1971 and prior in East Pakistan, in Dhaka, was Rabindra Sangeet.
Okay.
They would always play some song from Rabindra Sangeet because that is something that the people of Bengal could relate to.
Right.
And but the odd thing, not the odd thing, out of all our art forms, painting, literature, music is the most nationalistic art to express human emotions. And it touches something deep into your core. Don't you get moved when you hear a national anthem?
Absolutely, sir. I
And if
think
you are hearing even pop music,
sometimes
your
the
foot
view
starts tapping.
clears, especially in places it does.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I said, even if it's pop music which you like, or even classical music, your fingers start tapping, your foot starts tapping.
That also happens.
Music bypasses your thinking mechanism.
Hmm.
And the involuntary or voluntary muscular or reaction, or what you may call uh, a reaction to what you're hearing, your body, it reacts to that. That is why the involuntary tapping, you may not realize it, but your foot is tapping, keeping time to the time to the music.
Right.
Now, one of the problems of what the East Bengal had with Pakistan was the issue of language.
Okay.
In fact, that is what really, right from the day of inception, when Urdu was declared as the official language
Hmm.
of Pakistan, whereas a greater number of people spoke Bengali than Urdu in Pakistan.
Hmm.
The odd thing is, Urdu is not a native language of Pakistan.
Hmm.
It's an import from India by the Indian Muslim migrants from UP and Bihar who
Right.
went to, and Delhi who went to Pakistan.
Hmm.
In the Punjab part of Pakistan, the language is Punjabi.
Punjabi. Right.
In Baluchistan, it is Baluchi. In
Hmm.
Sindh, it is Sindh. In the northwest frontier, it is Pushto.
Hmm.
And along the banks of the Indus River, it's called the dialect called Seraiki.
Okay.
Urdu is nowhere. Urdu is an imported language,
Hmm.
like English to us.
Hmm.
So the Bengalis didn't like it.
Hmm.
And that is the first cause of disagreement and clash between the two wings occurred.
Right.
So the, the Bengalis wanted Rabindra Sangeet, and Rabindra Sangeet, because they controlled the radio, the Bengali staff was there in Radio East Pakistan,
Hmm.
at Dhaka, they would play the signature tune.
Hmm.
Somewhere along the line, in May or June, the Pakistanis realized that this Rabindra Sangeet was adding to the Bengalis' perception of their Bengali identity
Hmm.
and not a Pakistani identity.
Hmm.
So some psychologist in the army or in the establishment decided to drop Rabindra Sangeet and play a song which would convey a subtle or a hard-hitting message to the Bengali population that forget Rabindra Sangeet and your Bengali identity. And they started playing a song by another very famous Bengali singer, but from the Indian part, Geeta Dutt.
Geeta Dutt. Okay.
And the song was Mera Sundar Sapna Beet Gaya.
मेरा सुंदर सपना
Beet Gaya.
बीत गया.
That my beautiful dreams have ended. It was pointed to the Bengali freedom fighters.
Okay.
That forget the past, your dreams are over.
Hmm.
But the odd thing is, the only people, the Bengalis didn't understand Hindi,
Hmm.
the general population, or Urdu.
Hmm.
The only persons who understood Hindi or Urdu were the Pakistan army people and the Bihari refugees who were pro-Pakistani.
Hmm.
So here was a case of some bureaucrat or whoever it was trying to carry in psychological warfare which backfired on them. It was उनका सुंदर सपना बीत गया, not the Bengali सुंदर का सपना. उनका तो शुरू हुआ था.
Right. Right.
Right.
Okay.
So this is about the thing. Music is a powerful means to communicate any message. Even when you are seeing an advertisement for toothbrush or a toothpaste, and you'll have each Aishwarya Rai with a beautiful face coming in there and showing her 36 or 32 gleaming teeth. There's always music playing in the background.
Right. Right.
Anything on television you see without the music, without sound, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
look quite right.
Right.
So this little anecdote, along with the concert for Bangladesh, is something that I wanted to convey to you.
Music played a very big role. Yeah.
So,
In inspiring
and
people.
that's why all armies have bands and things like that to arouse your emotions and get you worked up. It can make you react in very, it can, depending on the type of music. And now, Russ, the 9 types of emotions that we have according to our Indian science of sound or art. Music can express joy, sorrow, anger, love. A complete range of human emotions can be expressed by music and induce that mood into you.
Right.
This is one little anecdote that about music that I wanted to convey to you. Second is, you wanted to know about the different actions that took place in the Mukti Bahini phase. One of the most successful and actions that took place, which didn't receive any outside publicity because we did not want to publicize it, and in which I was a major participant. I told you that my battalion was located, 4 guards was located in southern Tripura. After some time, we moved to southeastern Tripura, close to the coastal road that went from Dhaka to Chittagong.
Okay.
The highway and the railway line. And our job was not only to defend ourselves, but to also support the Mukti Bahini operations inside Bangladesh. One day, while exploring that area and poring over maps, I found, you see, what had happened was, in Cyclone Bola, earlier the coastal road ran closer to the sea, and the railway line, but that had got washed away, so the Pakistanis moved it further inland and brought it very close to our border within our sight.
Okay.
But it was still far away us to bring down small arms like machine gun fire. But I found that due to the boundary is not in straight line, it sort of curves, it's a wavy.
That's how the border is there. Yeah, a lot of curves.
One particular place, I found that on 2 sides, if we put our own machine guns, although they could not bring down effective fire because they were about a kilometer away on the Pakistanis, but if we moved a Mukti Bahini platoon closer to that road, and from our side, say we put them 500 yards away, but they and all the routes towards their position, we could control from our position by our machine guns. So if the Pakistanis attacked them, we could defend those Mukti Bahini people and they could withdraw back onto our Indian side of the border.
Okay.
So we did that. I told the CEO, I said, we can do this. My CEO agreed. He said, this is a wonderful idea. A low-cost operation. And I'll read it out from the thing. It was, I think, on, not think, yes, 27th August.
27th August.
1971. I'm reading it out. I won't remember the date. We put a platoon of the Mukti Bahini under Captain Rafiq ul Islam.
Okay.
He was with Major Zia. They had operated together. Were one of the first freedom fighters, and during the war, he got promoted, became a Mukti Bahini sector commander. Later on, he became a minister in the Bangladesh government. Now, this was the main highway from Dhaka and the hinterland of East Pakistan, to the main port of Chittagong and Cox's Bazar. So hundreds of vehicles and trucks would fly on this road daily. So at night we positioned these troops there, the Mukti Bahini troops, close to this highway, and their position was protected by our own troops on either flank, but from Indian territory because we were not allowed to cross.
Right.
Cross the border. And in the morning, when the Pakistani convoy started moving in, the Mukti Bahinis started ambushing. By the evening, we had ambushed and destroyed 30 trucks and buses, the few jeeps.
30 trucks and buses.
And a few jeeps and cars.
Okay.
Having done that, the Pakistanis, of course, ran away, didn't expect this thing to happen. What do we do with these trucks? Because they've been shot up and some are in serviceable order. We would have liked to bring them over to India, but there was no way that we could bring them over to India because the intervening land was soggy and there was no track or road. So we called the Bengali refugees who were in a refugee camp close by that go across and whatever you find in the trucks, bring it over and take it home.
Payback, I guess.
And some of the trucks were loaded with aluminium cooking utensils.
Okay.
Big patelas, huge ones that come at aid, for whatever purpose, and other things, cloth and some edible stuff. So the Bengalis brought them back. And along with it, one truck was carrying cigarettes, thousands of packets of cigarettes.
Okay.
They brought them over. We took some.
Okay.
Now, cigarettes we thought was very booty. It's not like looting or something, but we thought it was legitimate booty. But we learned a lesson. And that has included my CEO. None of us were regular smokers, but we did occasionally smoke with our drink and things like that. But even now I do. And a lot of others did it. We took a couple of cigarette packets ourselves and distributed to our men. The next day, all of us had a god-awful cough. I think instead of tobacco, there was some sort of cheap sawdust filled into the cigarettes.
Okay.
My CEO said, Chandrakant, we have learned our lesson. Never use or take anything that doesn't belong to us. Even when it's free.
This was okay.
See, we were there for a year and a half, so we had done different, every day was a new experience, new things happening. And you see, warfare and battles are not all bang bang. They happen for 5 minutes and then there's something else to do.
Right.
So, three things. Tomorrow was, see, I'm 82, so my memory, I have to brush up my knowledge. I will give you in detail the very interesting operation that was carried out by Chaudhry Maya, who later on became a minister. He was a leader in 1971. He is the one who did the bombing of the intercontinental. So that story requires in detail. I've written it down. The same paper has been published in my books. We'll cover that tomorrow and a couple of more Mukti Bahini operations. We'll cover tomorrow.
Okay.
Is that okay for you today? I'm sorry, I'm breaking it down into small packets. We have a lot of these stories. I can tell you another one, which has a. Initially, when we went into Tripura in 71 and end of beginning of April and May and June, we did not have any tanks.
Okay.
But sometime in September, we were joined by a squadron of tanks, of amphibious tanks called PT-76.
Okay.
The PT stood for Balamushi Tanka. It's a Russian tank which is amphibious. So when they first arrived there, and they were practicing their, amphibious floating in the water, they were observed by an uncle of the Maharaja of Tripura, K.P. Dev, very nice person.
Okay.
And he's a princely type, the uncle of the Maharaja. So one day he came to our officers' mess, requesting the CO and the commander of the tank squadron, Major Shammi Mehta, later on Lieutenant General Shammi Mehta. And so he comes the request. He says, in Tripura, there are many lakes and we have lots of ducks there. Can we go duck shooting on your tanks?
Okay.
So obviously, that is politely declined and whiskey offered in return in compensation. But another amusing thing happened. See, in Tripura and eastern Assam and that area in Bangladesh, many of the bridges were not concrete bridges, they were old wooden bridges made from sal wood. Sal is water resistant, and I'm forgetting the botanical name for it, but whatever it is, they were narrow wooden bridges. So the same, and that day, we had invited the local collector, a person called Mr. Badrinath, very fine officer. Now he's with the World Bank in Geneva. I'm still in touch with him. To our mess for a drink, and his wife Kavita, South Indians. And they were late. We kept on waiting. So what's the matter? They're not unusually. He comes out in a bit of cold sweat. He said, "What's happened? Why are you sort of shaken?" He said, "I was crossing the bridge when I saw a light in front. And being Collector Saab's car, his driver flashed his red light and beacon and all sorts of things. But this light kept on approaching us and got to within 10 feet. And 10 feet, we realized that we had a monster of an iron monster in front of us, a tank with a gun pointing at us." And so we had to reverse the vehicle in darkness about meters. Not only driver shaken up, even I was shaken up. My wife was more shaken up. To be first faced, you're looking down the barrel of a tank, the middle of a road.
This was really funny. But yeah, of course, meant to happen. I mean, they must be in a nighttime exercise, I guess.
And not exercise, they were coming to join us.
Okay.
The regiment was located in the other parts of India, and so it had come, and then they were joining us. I have a lot of stories of these tanks because I spent the whole war, or most of the war, riding on these tanks of Shammi Mehta, and I'll get him to speak to you also.
Okay.
He retired as the Vice Chief of the Army Staff. Very fine person.
Lieutenant General, I guess.
Lieutenant General S.S. Mehta.
S.S. Mehta. His brother is Brigadier Balram Singh Mehta.
Yes, B.S. Mehta. He was with 45 Cavalry on the western side of Bangladesh.
Right.
Battle of Bogra, where they shot up an entire squadron of Pakistani Shati tanks.
Battle of
The
Garib.
his commanding officer was my brother. Colonel Jambal was my brother-in-law. Balram Singh Mehta's commanding officer was Colonel Jambal.
Okay. Lieutenant Colonel D.S. Jambal.
He was my brother-in-law.
Okay.
His wife is still there. My wife and I are cousins.
I think he was the commanding officer of the 45 Cav at that time.
45 armored. So these are personal stories. And we'll get down to the. So far, what I'm telling you is the ants' eye view of the operations. Later on, we'll get into the eagles.
Okay.
But without having an ant's view of it, the eagle doesn't see what the ant sees.
Not at all, sir. I mean, that is why the voice of the veterans should also be out alongside learning about the operations as well. Yeah, because you people were on the ground, seeing everything, and bigger picture was in play, and you were a part of it. But your voice is also needed. Like, कहाँ पे
It's
कौन
both.
था? Yeah,
You need both.
both exactly. Exactly. And you have covered a lot regarding the entire theater as well.
Now I go back to the time of partition. The first major discord that took place in East Bengal simultaneously as the Kashmir operations was, I spoke to you about the Meghna River, which we crossed over on the 9th of December 71. Sometime in 1949, a train load of about 2,000 Hindu refugees, men, women, and children, were coming from East Pakistan towards Silchar.
Silchar, okay.
That was intercepted on the Meghna Bridge. The Meghna Bridge at Bera Bazaar was the biggest bridge in the east at that time. Even now it is. It was called the Coronation Bridge because it coincided, the opening of it coincided, it took place in 1936, coincided with the coronation of George VI.
Okay.
So that's why it's called Coronation. It's about 2 kilometers long. All the Hindu women and children and men were killed, their bodies thrown into the Meghna River. This led to a huge UN cry, and India nearly went to war with Pakistan. The Pakistanis panicked, and a pact was signed between Nehru and the Pakistani Prime Minister Liaquat
Liaquat Pact.
Ali Nehru Pact. This is a very important thing. I'll send you the details later. The pact said that both the sides would protect and facilitate the transfer of refugees from one country to another. But the UN tribe, the word got around, and there was tremendous anger. Now, this led to a very important event in Indian constitutional history. To suppress the news from spreading all over, Nehru introduced the first amendment to our constitution where the government could curtail the freedom of the press.
Okay.
This was the first constitutional amendment which gave power to the government to curtail the freedom of the press. So the news of this was suppressed as far as possible. An interesting thing of this is there's a book, and you can note down the details of the book, called 16 Stormy Days. 16 Stormy Days by Tripura Singh.
Okay.
That book is a bestseller. It's been, launched all over the world. It then talks about the debate that took place in the Indian National Assembly. I don't think Lok Sabha was there. Lok Sabha had come in. About this amendment to the Constitution of curtailing the freedom of the press. The story is about that.
Okay.
So an event that took place in 1949 in East Pakistan, the massacre of Hindu refugees, resulted in the first amendment to the Constitution of India, in which the freedom of the press was curtailed. And the book's title is 16 Stormy Days by Tripura Singh.
Okay.
Pros and cons, because this is a debate that is still taking place in India about the freedom of the media.
Right.
So they are all sort of interrelated, and it's up to you how you use the information.
Right. Nehru Liaquat Pact. I've heard of it.
Nehru Liaquat Ali Pact. In my book on Sagat, I've reproduced that pact. And Google this thing about 16 Stormy Days, the book. You don't have to buy it. But you get the idea of what it is about. And yesterday, when I read out to you from General Sagat's book, what Sidney Schanberg and the BBC and Anthony Mascarenhas and others said, and Archer Blood, foreigners said about the massacre. The Hindus were particularly targeted. We'll talk about it. A very important part of Bangladesh is called the Chittagong Hill Tracts, where Chittagong and Cox's Bazar, this area, from Noakhali to south eastwards. That was a Hindu and Buddhist majority area. Rightfully, it should have come to it. That is what the deal was. But the British and Americans had their own ambitions. That their aim was that Pakistan would be too weak a place, and if Chittagong Hill Tracts and that area is with Pakistan, their missionaries and their military and other foreign policy aims would be achieved by creating a Christian belt in the tribal areas from Chittagong Hill Tracts, Mizo Hills, Manipur, Nagaland, the borders of Burma, up to the Hunan province of China, the soft underbelly of.
Okay.
So that was another great game which they played. Sardar Patel blew his top when he heard that this was being given. Is there in a biography of Patton that we talked about?
And I think even after Bangladesh was liberated, there was a lot of problem in the Chittagong Hill Tracts.
I was there. It is still there. It is still there. The problem. And as I said, after we gave the parade to Rahman on the 12th of March, and I'll show you, I'll send you the photographs, President's signatures on the program and Sheikh Hasina's program, and his pictures signing the book. So I'm aware of what was there. We'll have to devote some time to that one, the half an hour session.
Okay.
That.
We can do that.